Train a child in the direction he or she shall go, and one will not depart. Scripture, Proverbs 22, 6 verse, 22 and 6. What about that scripture about when I was a child, I spoke as a child. And once I got older, I put away childish things. Welcome one and all, I'm Franchise Pearson. Did I say February 16th for 2023? 3:21 in the early PM. Hope you guys had a divine day, peaceful day. A day the Lord has made. Let us be glad in it. And yes, I was a child once. And I do have one. And I'm sure there are a lot of you under the sound of my voice who have one. In this generation, it is a challenge to raise a child. The basic family structure of having the two-parent household and the neighborhood as a support system, it's kind of crumbled over the decades. Then unfortunately, the percentage is higher of wayward children who unfortunately go astray, end up doing the wrong thing. Many die young, some go to jail, some never reach the heights, breadth, and depth of their gift that God has bestowed upon them. You know, sometime in life you get 2, maybe 3 shots at doing the right thing in terms of how to live in this world and reaching your goals and aspirations. So today I want to talk about being older and being that mentor. Being that mentor, being that angel that walks amongst us. Many times we would think that because we're not in the limelight or being a manager, that what we have to say on a daily basis won't hold water, won't have an influence. That we're competing against the internet and the magazines and newspapers and TV and cable and everything that's really don't have and won't have an impact on children today. I say don't underestimate yourself. Give it a try. The way you walk, the way you talk, your mannerisms, your patience, listening, smiling, giving advice. Well, like I said, just simply as being there. I was at the grocery store today and I listened to the manager at the checkout, and she was explaining how her son can come to her about anything. I smiled as she looked at me, and I'm like, that's a beautiful thing. And that's one reason I was led to do this video. Like I said, we were all children at one time. The divine hand guided us on a journey whereby we would meet people and impact upon people and then also be impacted upon as well. Sometimes the internet and friends are just blur because some kids have an innate, they're more intuitive than others. So again, don't underestimate that what you might do, a handshake or smile or just be in their form. You might not see it now, but it could pay off. It's paid off for me. I'm sure a lot of you here, it's paid off for you as well. Community is important, family is important, your religious convictions. It all plays a part. There's a reason the good Lord put that scripture in there, right? Train a child in the direction they should go. In the end, they will not depart. And yes, sometimes we stray. But the seed, remember, the seed was planted, and it's a sincere seed. God has created something in us. Let's just call it a recall. And we just unconsciously sometimes tap into it. We tap into that mystical part where we can reflect on that positive moment that someone brought to us. Many of you all know I ran businesses for 18 years. I've shared that with you before. And I made a decision to be an unofficial, unaccredited college with my management style. I taught registers, how to wait on customers, how to be apologetic, how to serve, how to be polite, be nice, characteristics, how to be timely and efficient. I taught the cooks. I told my cooks, I said, look, you might not never meet the customer, but what you put on that, what goes on that plate is plate presentation. It speaks a lot about the conviction that you put into creating that food. I shared the same way with the prep person. That which you produce, it's making a statement. And I don't care how wide the smile is of the cashier, whether it's male or female. If what's on that plate doesn't reflect the commercial that collectively all the fast foods spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month telling people how good their product is. Just come on in and let us serve you. If it doesn't keep that standard, it's a problem all day. So how do we be consistent from the time that we open up in the morning to the time we close at night? I would always preach that the customer who comes in at night, 15 minutes before close, is just as important, equally or more so than the person who came there in the morning or during the afternoon or evening rush. I instilled teamwork. Many things that I didn't know until I engaged with them, that they didn't have this for upbringing. So I took it upon myself to be their mentor. Many of them appreciated, many of them went on to become managers, not just in the type of business I was, but in other aspects of retail, and like I said, restaurant and other things. But I taught them everything they needed to know in terms of how a business functions, ordering product, shelf life of a product, inventory of a product, uniforms, you name it, I taught it. Customer service, cooking, cashiering, money control, profit and loss statements, monthly and quarterly meetings, yearly meetings, budgets, all that. How to project for the sales for that day, that afternoon, that evening, for that week and that month and that year. I went through the whole gamut so that they could understand that the investment that I put into them, they're now more valuable. And yes, I can say that in the Midwest, for years, I had the best retention record in the company. So much so the president of the company would call me one day in the middle of a lunch rush and surprise me. because that was the third time I became manager of the year. Now, this isn't to toot my own horn. What I'm saying is that I felt like I had to give back. No one asked me to do it. I saw the need, and I knew someone had given me my chance. You know, when you went on your first interview or you went on an interview at whatever job it was that you felt it meant a lot to you and you had a twitchy nervousness about you, and somebody said that magic word, yes, and it made your day, and you went home and you smiled like Eddie Murphy, right? It was the thing. How do you keep that smile? How do you keep that enthusiasm? How do you build into them this capitalistic, this mentality of business? How do you do it? Well, by example. Can a personal philosophy spill over into your professional career? Yes, it can. You do it within reason, but I think everybody would appreciate a manager who's concerned and who's going to invest in the person that they've hired, especially when it comes down to working as a team. America and the world, we stress a lot of that in the sports. I know when I watch soccer, I see it. People in the stands there. It's a deafening sound when someone scores that goal, or even when football, or baseball, or basketball. We cheer, we root for an individual, but more so for a team. And even if when you lose sometime, you know you gave it your best shot. I would teach my crew, you won't have a good day or a good shift every day, but it's 7 days in a week and it's average of 30 days in a month. If you have more good days than bad, you're all good. Because what the customer is looking for is consistency. Like I said, they're already conditioned by the commercial. They already have expectations. And many people who come to your restaurant, trust me, they've cooked before. They know what a good product looks like. And when times are as hard as they are today, one needs to produce a product whereby it speaks to them on the plate, that the cashier is a reflection of good customer service and that commercial. Whether it's the parking lot being consistently clean, the restrooms or the lobby, crisp, fresh uniform, and being considerate when you take their order. And if you see that they're handicapped or elderly or they have bags in their hand, offer to take their tray to their seat and ask them, is there anything else I can do for you? Because it's an experience. I had a millionaire teach me decades ago. She said, Pearson, when someone comes to your restaurant, what can you make it more distinctive than any other restaurant? Every now and then you got to give them something free. And of course, she was talking about maybe a free drink or something like that. Well, I incorporated that into my thinking and I added to it commercial service. I believe I was the first one to ever say that. I would always teach people during my interviews, and respectfully, every shift, I would say, we want commercial service. Why would I do that? Well, because of the things I just brought to your attention. And half the battle is done because of the advertisements, which are already on television, newspaper, internet. All you do is extend it when they come through the foyer inside of your edifice. And if they see the consistency, it connects and they will make a purchase. And they might even dine in when they thought about dining out because you just set an atmosphere. So again, never think that you're not influential in what you do. You set a standard. You be wise, you be patient, you train. Everybody's not able to learn everything in a short period of time. Some people are good bookworms. Some people learn by doing. Some have a combination of both. Some think they got it, but you have to do a 4-step training method. Explain, you know, what is that? Demonstrate, let them do it, and follow up. A new product, when a new product is introduced, you sell it to them in terms of, hey, this is going to assist in all of us making more sales for the company and bonus for the store. And I was the type of leader whereas I gave out monies to my crew. I took them on bowling parties and things like that. And I would give out cakes and everything for the birthday. So I would try to be an all-encompassing manager. And again, I learned a philosophy from a millionaire and other people who were in the restaurant. I've shared this before. I had 2 ways of learning. I learned from the best on what to do, and I learned from the worst and the flaky, and I learned what not to do. And then I developed my own style. I was the type of learner where I couldn't learn it all on a shift, so I would take home the manuals and take home the film strips, and I would learn. And for years I had the highest score as a manager. And again, I'm not bragging, I'm just saying, whatever you do, apply yourself. I went into work on my off days and worked maybe 2-3 hours with people that I admired so I could learn from the best. Then when the time came around for those who were in management training, I threw my hat in the ring. And I said, I'm ready. They would say, what do you mean you're ready? I'm like, well, I work every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 4 o'clock p.m. to sometime 2 o'clock in the morning, because we just started drive-thrus in the 80s. And I never complained, but I learned a lot. Well, how did you learn it? Trust me, I can take the test. Majority of questions that they asked me on the spot at the training center, I aced them. The next quarter, when it came around, I took the test. I got in management. As Les Brown, the motivator, said, I was hungry. I had to learn life skills. I had to learn people skills. I had to learn the policies and procedures of that job. I had to put it all together. The things that made me the most happy is that the instantaneous responses from the people that I worked with, the people who grew under me, the customer to serve, and the neighborhood environment that it created. And I'd say 1/4 of the teenagers that came and worked for me, when they went off to college, they came back in the summer, they worked for me. Many of them told me that this was home to them and they wanted to hang around. I'm like, well, according to law, you can't hang around, but I would let them hang around the restaurant and they would work. They loved the team concept. So again, never think that you're not having an influence. I believe people naturally want to feel wanted. How do we do that? There's no one concept or silver bullet to it. But I do believe, with the good Lord's help, if you have the intent, you can get it done. Be honest with yourself. When you fall, get up, dust yourself off, get back in the race. I can only share from you, well, I will share from you only the restaurant experience. But I've had other experiences in leadership capacity as well where I applied the same thing. So yeah, we might have kids out here who are, let's say not as admirable as the kids were in the 70s and 80s. It's more of a challenge for us. They might be influenced more so by gangs and things like that, but we have to endure until their end. We have to be an influence. Wouldn't the good Lord want that to happen? I would say yes. I am Friendship Pearson. I thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that bell. And then when the options come up, hit all. That way you don't miss the notifications. And I'll see you soon.